Hi, we're the Psychic Twins.
I'm Terry.
And I'm Linda.
He had it all. A beautiful family, a hit show, a job. He had the best job traveling all around the world. But last week, Anthony Bourdain killed himself while in France filming on location for his show Parts Unknown.
Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, Avicii, Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, all the recent celebrity suicides remind us that no matter how successful you are, wealthy you are, famous, loved, appear to be happy, it cannot prevent you from taking your own life. It's just that we all battle our own demons, and a lot of times people don't let us into what they're suffering from. There's a larger growing trend unfolding in the US. Since 1999, the suicide rate has actually risen 28% nationally. In 25 states, I think it's 30%. According to the CDC, the suicide rate among women has risen 80% since 1999. Social media is in some ways to blame, but it certainly isn't the whole pie.
Right, that's just part of it.
Right.
Well, we have lost loved ones, quite a few friends to suicide, and we've talked about this in our videos, we've talked about it in our books. And, we just feel so sad and angry and ripped off when it happens. You're so confused. You don't know what to do or think. It leaves you feeling so confounded. So, really just horrifying.
Hopeless and helpless.
But, it takes time to overcome the death of a loved one. But please don't blame yourself if you are a survivor of suicide.
Absolutely not. It's not your fault.
We ourselves have struggled our whole lives with depression and anxiety, and we've been open about that. Suicide of a loved one, it's a horrifying thing to live through, you guys. And we've also talked people out of suicide many, many times. Too often there are really no reasons or explanations for suicide because people hide their feelings and emotions. They may hide their plans to kill themselves. So unless you're really flat out asking, you may not know that this is their plan. There's no making sense of it, but it's not unethical or immoral, we don't believe.
No.
And the person that kills him or herself is just in terribly deep pain.
Some of the celebrities who've dealt with anxiety and depression over the past 20 or 30 years are...
Well, Demi Lovato. She checked into treatment in 2010 for bipolar disorder, bulimia and anorexia, and she has since become a very, very powerful advocate for mental health. In fact, I think she's even part owner of the rehab center. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has suffered with depression. Britney Spears has had crippling anxiety, and that led to her highly publicized breakdown in 2007. Quote, "From an early age, I always felt that everyone was testing me. If something was not in place, it would have been enough to get me to this point of anxiety. I could get overwhelmed by a lot of very small things," Britney says.
We can all relate to that.
We sure
who
can.
suffer from anxiety, especially in show business. There's so much pressure.
So many of us relate to.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga has talked openly about her daily struggle with depression and also PTSD.
Yeah, she says she continues to struggle with it even to this day.
Yeah, a lot
Every
of
day.
celebrities have stage fright, terrible stage fright too.
Oh my gosh. Johnny Depp, some people may not realize that he suffered from severe anxiety for many, many years. And he actually has therapists on the set with him who can coach him through an anxiety attack when he gets them. And they come pretty frequently. I want to mention here also that substance abuse doesn't exactly help depression and anxiety. In fact, it can even exacerbate it. It can make it a lot worse. And Johnny Depp is one person who's struggled with that. Jim Carrey has been very open about his struggles with depression over the years. Selena Gomez took time out from the spotlight to really focus on healing. She had severe anxiety issues. A lot of people would never have noticed, but she was really in deep pain. She said it was in part a side effect of her struggle with lupus, which is a chronic immune system disease, but we're pretty impressed with how she manages to carry on despite her struggles. And I think she's a role model for a lot of young women.
Oh, for sure. We love Selena.
Deborah Messing, the star of Will and Grace, has struggled with anxiety.
I was surprised by that.
And depression.
She doesn't seem like she's at all anxious.
Not at all. But actors are good at covering it up.
Yeah. And what about Sarah Bareilles, the singer? She has also struggled. Rob Delaney from Deadpool has had depression and quite a lot of struggle with that. Dolly Parton has struggled with depression.
Especially back in the 90s. She talked about really some very difficult times she had to go through. You would never know it by looking at her, but again, we're soldiers, showbiz people. The show must go on, and so you're always sort of trying to will your way through it. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean,
for sensitive people.
Showbiz is just alone is enough to make you kind of crazy.
Oh, very much so.
So, that's one reason I think people drive themselves, or their company or their record label drives them too hard. And I think Anthony Bourdain probably should have just drawn a line and said, I have to take this season off, or I have to take a month just for me time and therapy or whatever he needed.
I wish
because he did have a history of heroin and alcohol abuse.
Heroin addiction.
Literally amazing. He survived to be 30, and he didn't expect to survive to be 30, and he actually lived to be,
61. He was 61 when he passed a week or so ago. Guys, success and the perfect life will never solve your problems. If you're struggling with severe anxiety and depression, severe rage, addictions of any kind, or even thoughts of suicide, let alone attempts, if you're even thinking about suicide, please talk to a doctor, a teacher, a trusted person, a friend in the family,
pastor, a priest, somebody close to you that you can trust. Every school has a guidance counselor, but please reach out to one another.
We need to destigmatize depression and anxiety. It's still such a taboo to admit you're depressed, and so people don't want to admit it. It's a sign of weakness, in fact, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, we don't perceive it as a weakness. We actually think it takes a great deal of strength to live with depression, and if you really seek help, it'll make you so much stronger.
Yeah, you don't need to go through this fight alone.
We're all in this together.
Totally.
Too many people suffer in silence and in shame, and you should, just because it's not visible doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or that it's not real. A lot of people take their own lives because they feel desperate and that they've run out of options, but there's always options. We want to offer some ways to help you cope with depression, and if you're feeling any kind of depression or anxiety, just know that there are always options, you guys.
Well, here are 16 ways to win over depression, and some of these have helped us over the years, and we hope that you can implement, even if you only put into a practice a few of these. I think you'll find that it will help you tremendously. Number 1, focus on the present moment. What can you do right now to feel better? Number 2, meditate. Listen to peaceful music.
Well, this is the thing. I just want to add that when you go to a therapist, they're not going to address the spiritual aspect of what you have unless they're specifically trained in spiritual therapy. We believe that meditation and prayer and connecting with a higher source or a higher power and friends who worship can really make the difference between life and death. It certainly kept me from killing myself back when I was in my 20s. And I mean, I was called on the suicide hotline in college, you guys. I was, 19 years old. We found that, meditation and chanting not only changed our lives, it saved our lives. So we want to encourage you to seek out a spiritual path. Don't just, turn to doctors or medications or drugs, because there's so much more if you're willing to open up to a spiritual path.
Yeah, therapies like massage, acupuncture, reiki healing, which is energy healing, can really lower your stress hormones. And omega-3 fatty acids, by the way, can really help in your diet. Research has shown that depressed people are really lacking in omega-3 fatty acids quite often. Walnuts, flaxseed, salmon, tuna, they can all help with depression.
Yeah, I mean, a healthy diet, and when we say diet, we don't mean you have to lose weight. We're talking about a healthy, balanced food plan. The types of foods you combine, the types of foods you eat can actually change the chemistry of your brain.
Yeah, your neurochemistry can really shift. Avoid burnout by maintaining balance. Don't don't overwork if you can help it.
That is so, so important because, you know, all of us work too hard and we think we have to work hard. Well, you can work smart and not hard, you guys. You know, set time aside so that you can balance your life. You know, if you're just working, you'll end up like, you know, Mr. Bourdain, sadly, and you don't want to keep pushing. It's just not worth it.
Exactly. I mean, 7 to 8 hours sleep is recommended for people, and if you can't get that, at least try to rest a little during the day, like frequent breaks. If you really suffer from depression or anxiety when there's too much pressure, take a break and go and just chill out.
Actually, drinking a lot of coffee or caffeine, I know it's become very popular, but that will increase your anxiety and your insomnia.
That can become another addiction, right?
That's another addiction. And so, you know, make sure that you're not drinking more than 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, and maybe have the coffee earlier in the day so that it doesn't interfere with your sleep. So pay attention to self-talk. It's what you say to yourself. It's the conversation that you have with yourself, either internally or outwardly. Counter any negative thought with a positive one if you can. If you catch yourself saying, I'm a loser, I'm trash, immediately stop and say, this is going to lead down the wrong path. Say, I am valuable, I'm important, I matter, I'm a brilliant, wonderful person, whatever it is.
I'm enough.
Yeah,
I'm enough.
I'm good
just
enough.
the way I am.
I'm good enough. So you write your own, write them down and say them every day. There are a lot of meditation tapes that have positive affirmations, and we have one as well.
A tape, yes.
If you have depression or anxiety, you may want to limit the time you spend on social media because sometimes it can trigger feelings of depression and anxiety, and we hear this from our friends that have those things. They say, you know, I had to get off of Instagram
Or Twitter.
Shout out to Alley Cat. But we really feel that sometimes when you're even particularly a young person, you may think, oh, I'm not perfect enough, or I can't compare to their followers, or whatever it is, and you're counting numbers too much. Try to limit how much time you do spend on social media. This too shall pass. You've overcome difficult things in the past, and you will again. So just know that suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem, and it just isn't worth it. Drugs, alcohol, and prescription medications can also chemically alter your brain, and a lot of medicines and even prescription meds have suicidal thoughts as a side effect.
Especially if they're combined with other medications.
Yeah, and so you may want to, like, definitely, I say, I want to encourage you to talk to your doctor about the side effects of whatever medicine you're taking. Avoid drinking too much because alcohol is a depressant, you guys. If you're drinking because you're depressed, it'll make you more depressed. And so that's like really, really important. Don't mix alcohol and drugs, obviously. And make sure that you laugh because laughter is the best medicine. You know, watch a funny movie or video, watch our videos with Shane, and you will laugh your ass off. Laughter really is very, very healing. And make sure that you speak to a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist to really identify harmful or dangerous thought patterns. You know, often we'll get into this sort of a cycle of negative thinking and we don't know it. You know, if you see that your friends or family have this habit, you know, you may want to encourage them to see a professional.
Number 13, write down your feelings and your fears in a journal. List 5 things you're grateful for. Some people list 10 or 15, and they look at them every day and they think, gee, you know, I have a lot to be proud of and happy about and excited about, and here I'm letting this one over focus on my appearance, or is my selfie going to be airbrushed enough, or, you know, we compare to other people online that just, you know, airbrush to death every photo they have, and then young girls end up comparing themselves, or boys, to that airbrushed photo, and they think, I'm never going to look good enough, I'm never going to be enough or pretty enough. And so that's something that you want to avoid, is, you know, going on social media and comparing yourself to other models. Number 14, reach out to a friend. Socializing can bring you out of a dark place, but be careful who you socialize with. If they're really negative people who are trying to get you to do drugs and alcohol, or, you know, go to a place you don't like the idea of going to, don't do it. Just say, no, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to do that. And I think people want, you know, their peer pressure, their friends make them want to kind of keep up with them and act like they're cool too. But so often I think you have to listen to your gut, your inner voice that says, this is going to be dangerous. This can end well, for me. So I'm not going to go tonight. Number 15, forgive others, or at least try to. Holding on to a grudge or resentment against someone is actually just going to hurt you more than it hurts that other person.
It's like taking poison and expecting the other guy to die. You're the one that's going to suffer. They'll be fine.
Even moderate exercise can release endorphins and elevate your mood. Walking every day, maybe for 20 minutes a day if you can.
Yeah, try to get out in nature too, because that is much, I think it's a happier place than being stuck in a gym, staring at four walls.
Can make a big difference. It really can.
Depression really affects millions of us, every single day. So try to be kind to one another. Everyone you know is fighting a hard battle.
That's for sure.
The impact on loved ones is always profoundly haunting and enduring. If you are without hope, reach out to a friend, a loved one, a stranger, anyone. If you know someone who may be suffering, don't be afraid to ask them, are you okay? Yeah. Are you feeling like you're going to hurt yourself?
It's okay to ask. And a lot of people say it makes a huge difference. It made a huge difference to them when they were feeling suicidal.
Is there anything I can do? Reach out and say, don't be afraid to ask that question. This allows the person to be vulnerable and open up to you. Maybe no one's ever asked them.
That's right.
And it helps open the line of communications.
You'd be surprised at how many people say just that simple gesture of caring. You don't have to be a close friend, but you can go over and say to someone, I noticed you're being really quiet, or you're avoiding being around people. Is there something that you want to tell me? Are you thinking of hurting yourself? So many people have said that in a time when they were about to commit suicide, they were thinking about it and even planning it, that saved their lives. Just that one person coming over.
Because you're helping them to rethink, their intentions of suicide, and it might just, end that cycle that they're in for the moment.
Yeah, suicide has always been thought to be so taboo in our society.
There is a stigma.
And there's such a stigma, right? And so, any way we can get other people to open up and start talking, and that's where, look up from your devices every now and then and notice people around you that might, need your attention. And some people who came back and after attempting to commit suicide said it would have meant so much to them if someone had come up to them and just said, how you doing? I'm a little worried about you. What's going on?
Don't be ashamed if you need help. Don't be ashamed to reach out and ask for help. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not important.
Because you are. You're valuable. And you don't hear that enough, I'm sure. It sounds kind of corny to say, maybe, or to hear it, but it really is true. Everyone is precious and everyone is valuable.
And you don't need to prove it.
Right? You do matter. And that's what we're here to say. Don't be swayed by bullies and people that want to bring you down. That's another major cause of suicide, especially among young people.
Just think of bullies as barking dogs that are like barking at a parade going by. You're the parade. You'll just keep marching.
Yeah, just keep going.
They're just barking dogs. Ignore them.
Sorry, there's some noise outside. There's construction going on outside, you guys, but I'm going to mention the suicide prevention hotline. So you have it. Please write this down. 1-800-273-8255. And the depression hotline is 888-640-5174. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And also share it with all of your friends. You just might save a life. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the future.